What's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to another how-to video from Imperial Watch Co. On today's video, we're going to talk about how to size the bracelet on your new Royalguard 200 watch. Thanks for tuning in. Let's go ahead and dive into it. All right, first things first, let's talk about the tools you'll need to do this. So first thing you'll need is a spring bar tool, or even a toothpick will work for what we'll be using it for in this video. You also need the watch and the bracelet. And then last thing you will need is a push pin tool. This will allow you to remove the pins that hold the bracelet together. These are about $5 to $10. It's on Amazon. I will link one in the description. It can be easily had for around that price and readily available. Now from here, we'll go ahead and talk about how to use each of these tools in a step-by-step fashion on how to size your bracelet. Thanks. All right, guys, before we get started, let's go ahead and do an overview of the bracelet. So the Royalguard 200 bracelet features push pins that hold each individual link together. These are those pins that you see here running along throughout the bracelet. Now, they hold each individual link, and in order to size the bracelet, you will need to push them out using the tool shown earlier, and then remove however many links you will need so that the watch will fit your wrist. You will do that on both sides so that the clasp fits nicely on your wrist. Now, for me personally, I always like to have the side of the 6 o'clock side a little bit shorter, which keeps the clasp sitting nicely on my wrist, nestled a little bit further towards that 6 o'clock side. As you'll see here, the bracelet and most bracelets have this feature where it is longer towards the 12 o'clock side. When it folds across itself, you have this longer piece here. For that reason, I like to keep the 12 o'clock side longer so that it fits nicer on the wrist. But everyone's wrist is different, so do what feels comfortable for you. Let's go ahead and talk about how to go about doing this. First things first, you go ahead and slap it on your wrist. And this might be tough to see in the camera, but go ahead and put it together on your wrist. Snap it in place. And then position the watch and the clasp where it should be, and then go ahead and grab the extra links. And what you'll see is you'll kind of get a guess about, all right, I probably need to take about 4 links off this front end here to get a good fitment on the front of this watch. So I'll go ahead and start with that, and then we'll adjust after that from there. So you go to remove the watch, and you know that you got to now remove about 4 of these links here from the watch. So let's go ahead and talk about how to do that. You could size this bracelet entirely while it is attached to the watch. It is probably easiest to do it with the bracelet removed. However, it is pretty simple to do with the bracelet still attached to the head of the watch, simply by disconnecting the bracelet from the clasp itself. What this allows you to do is have each side of the bracelet independent of each other, and is easier to work with the push pin tool. So to do this, we simply have to remove this end of the bracelet from the clasp. It is held together via the micro adjust here via a spring bar that is spring loaded and allows you to quickly adjust but also remove the bracelet. So let's go ahead and do that. Pretty easy. You can either use the spring bar tool I mentioned, or I'll show you, you can just use a toothpick. So simply take a toothpick and depress the spring bar here. You'll see it come free from the clasp itself. Don't let it go flying around, but that's all it is. Now you're free. All that's there is that little spring bar. So now your watch is free from the clasp and is now easier to manipulate and to remove however many pins and links you need to remove from each side of the bracelet. All right, we're now at the point where you're going to use your push pin tool to remove the pins on the links that you want to remove. From my estimates, I estimated that I need to take about 4 links off this front end, the 6 o'clock side of the watch bracelet. So I'll simply take the tool, spin it out so that I can fit the bracelet in, and I'll first take a look at the underside of the bracelet, where you will see these arrows. And what they tell you is you need to use the tool to remove the pins in the direction of the arrows. So you will press from this side and push the pins out in the direction of the arrow. When you reinstall them, you're going to push them back in the way they came out, so that when you go to take them out, you're always following the arrows. So now I know I need to push on this side. I'll take that side and I'll go ahead and line it up with the press tool here, so that I'm pushing in the direction of the arrows. Simply go ahead and line it up, find the hole that you need to remove, and just for reference here, since I want to remove 4 links, I'm going to leave this last link, because that one has to stay, because it's how it's connected to the clasp. And I will be removing these 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. For me, I have a smaller wrist. That is all of the available links I have to remove. So I will be removing all 4 links there. All right, so essentially I'm going to remove this first one and this last one from here, which will then have all of these gone, and then I will simply reconnect this last one to what is left here on the bracelet. I'll go ahead and show you that now. I'll probably speed it up for you guys so you don't have to sit there and watch it, but here we go. There are my 4 links that I wanted to remove, and these are the push pin tools that held them in place. So I will set the links aside. I'll move this, and I will now line up the new ones that I want to attach. Simply take the push pin tool that was in that last one, and remember, we're going to follow the arrows. So the arrows indicated that it is got to go from this side that way. So I will get ready to reinstall the pin in the opposite direction from where we just pushed, so that when you're removing the pins, you're always following the arrows by pressing them out. And it should slide in pretty much all the way, just leaving a little bit here, just a little nub left for you to use the tool to push back in. So what we're going to do now is use the tool to do just that. So we're going to line it up. And simply press until it is flush here on the bracelet on both sides. And now you have a sized one side of the bracelet. So now the easiest thing to do is going to be to reattach this end of the bracelet to here, put it on your wrist, do that same measurement to see how many now you need to remove from this end of the bracelet. Keep in mind though, on this end of the bracelet, you have these micro adjusts, so you're gonna have a little bit of wiggle room to play with. I like to leave myself so that when it sits comfortably at a resting position, I'm not active, I'm just resting, probably with either the second or third mark. What that does is allows me a little bit of wiggle room in case I, am out being active, getting sweaty, my body swells up a little bit from the heat, and then I need to move it quickly via the micro adjust to give myself a little more space. I have some leeway. I can move it either to the second to last or this last position. If I were to size it perfectly to this last position and then that happened and my wrist got a little bit more swollen from the heat or whatever I was doing, then I would have nowhere else to go. So keep that in mind. Try and size it either to the second to last or the third or even the fourth, whatever you're more comfortable with. But these micro adjusts, I'd use them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and then I will go ahead and have it all sized up. All right, guys, so here's the watch finally sized on my 6.5-inch wrist. I went ahead and for me, it took 4 out of the 6 o'clock end of the bracelet and 2 out of the 12 o'clock end. Probably could have done 3, still could, but I like to have it where I can move it around a little bit here with the micro adjust and play with that depending on the heat and the weather and how my wrist is feeling that day. But I also don't like my watches too tight. Depending on how you are or how your wrist is, you could be tighter or looser, but the point is, these smaller links will allow a lot of adjustability as well as the 4 micro adjust holes. So this is kind of the process though to get it as close as you can and how you want it to how you want to wear. But this is how the watch looks on a 6.5-inch wrist, and that is how you size the bracelet for the Royalguard 200, or really any push pin bracelet that uses this type of tool that presses out the pins. Like I said, I will link to this in the description below, and this is how you size the Royalguard 200 bracelet. I'll go ahead and take it off and we'll do a quick closing. One quick note before I close, just on sizing the bracelet and determining what size you need your bracelet to be. This is a quick and easy way to do so without having to guess with it on your wrist and estimate how many links. So a little bit easier way, you go ahead and remove the bracelet from the watch. And what you can do is grab a bracelet if you have one that you've already sized, fits your wrist well, and this is kind of your typical size for this style watch, for a dive watch around this size. What you can do is kind of line up the bracelet and figure out how many links you need to remove. So for example, here on this front end, I'd line up the edges here, and I would see that I probably need to remove about 1, 2, 3, 4. exactly what I did remove earlier in order to get this edge of the clasp even with that edge of the clasp. Do the same thing on this end, and you'll see that I need to remove about 1, 2, just like I did here, in order to get that about where I wanted it there on that end. So that's just a quick and easy way to kind of see what you need to do to remove the amount of links and how many you need to remove in order to get a good fit. So overall, that's how you guys do it. That's how you size a watch. Only a couple tools needed. Heck, we even just used a toothpick. So go ahead and give it a shot, give it a go. Worst case, if you guys can't do it, you go and take it to a watchmaker. They'll do it for you in 2 seconds. I absolutely know that they should have the tools. But there's a lot of resources beyond just my video here. Plenty of resources on YouTube in terms of videos. Go ahead and give them a watch. I'm sure you guys can do it. If you need help, reach out. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to doing more of these how-to series videos. I appreciate you guys tuning in and appreciate your support. Make sure you guys sign up for the newsletter for future updates and releases. Very excited to start seeing these watches hit people's wrists. Thanks.